Hello, welcome back to the channel. I guess I want to say this is a cool new stuff video. I haven't done too many of those, but I have done some in the past. And I guess you could call this a book edition. I am kind of all over the place with my channel, but I am wanting to get back into reading a lot more. And here and there, I'm like picking up a book and actually reading a fair amount of it or close to finishing it. And most bookworms are like, if you want to, find something to read, you have to read something that you actually like and such. And so there's a lot out there that, it could pique your interest, then you start reading and you're just not into it. But I mean, you could say the same thing about movies, basically. But this is kind of my book edition of cool new stuff. So let's get started. So I've actually had this for quite a while, but I did want to show it off. There's a fair amount of books on here I've had for a little bit of time at least, but I haven't really gotten around to reading them. But I just kind of wanted to show them off because it's a book edition. And that is my best friend's Exorcism is one of them. And my wife and I actually watched this recently, the movie. And it's one of those movies that's like, it's not good, but you can find some enjoyment out of it. I mean, it's a pretty brainless watch, and I mean, especially just, it seems like nowadays it's just like, I really don't try to get into anything that's too deep. I'm very selective with stuff that like has a lot to it. So this seems pretty simplistic in its plot, and the plot is just in the title. And based on watching the movie, like I got some enjoyment out of it, but I didn't think it was like actually like good. But I do like a lot of horror movies that just kind of have that this isn't a good movie factor, but I still get some enjoyment out of. And that's my best friend's Exorcism. And I think I'm like maybe 20 pages deep of this so far, so I haven't gotten a chance to pick it up more. Life's been pretty crazy lately. Once I finally pick up a book, I can like fly through a good amount of it. But yeah, this is going to probably be a very easy read. Also, I didn't open up my Pepsi. If I'm going to be talking a fair amount, might as well have a Pepsi. Cheers. This actually isn't a Pepsi. I'm not sponsored by anything in this video. Okay, next book. So my wife got me my best friend's Exorcism. And she also got me this one. But this is called This Delicious Death. It's a girl eat girl world. I could totally see myself reading this like on the beach. Hopefully my wife and I can get to the beach sometime this year. But I could totally see myself like flying through this book, like just on the beach one day. And it is kind of like supposedly a summary book. I haven't read the back of this for a little while, but it says this summer is going to get gory. 2 years ago, a small percentage of the population underwent a transformation known as the hollowing. Those affected were only able to survive by consuming human flesh. The people who went without quickly became feral, turning on their friends and family. Luckily, scientists were able to create a synthetic version of human meat that would satisfy their hunger. As a result, humanity slowly began to return to normal. This kind of reminds me a little bit of True Blood in that, at least what I've read of that plot so far. Cut to Zoe, Celeste, Valeria? Yeah, I think that's it. And Jasmine, 4 hollow girls living in Southern California. As a last hoorah before graduation, they attend a musical festival in the heart of the desert. They have a cooler filled with seltzer, vodka, and sin flesh, and are ready to party. I guess that's the, replacement of human flesh. But on the first night of the festival, Val goes feral and ends up killing and eating a boy in one of the bands. As other festival guests start disappearing around them, the girl soon discovers someone is targeting people like them. If they can't figure out how to stop it, and soon, no one at the festival is getting out alive. Sounds fun. I could totally just see myself flying through this. I heard someone yelling outside. But yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, and yeah, that's definitely one I will be checking out for sure. Moving on to another one. This is one I bought actually last year. This was around the time I was getting back surgery. So, shockingly, shockingly, getting back surgery, I was only out of work for like 3 weeks, and yeah, I returned to work after 3 weeks. So I thought I was going to be out of commission a little bit longer. So I was like, I might as well buy a book and try to read it. But I do like Mary Shelley, and she has hearing about her life is fascinating, and writing Frankenstein, and she wrote another book called The Last Man. But this has a lot of mixed reviews, and I kind of wanted just to get it to read it and kind of form my own opinion on it. Honestly, during surgery, I remember reading I want to say a good 50 pages of this book, and just nothing went through my head. Just nothing stuck with me. And a lot of people are like, yeah, this is a very slow book. And it definitely is. I mean, it's a pretty, it's a post-apocalyptic book, basically. Kind of leading up to the world ending, and then while the world has ended. But yeah, it was very slow, at least of what I read. So maybe if I just have nothing else to read and I've gotten past all the stuff of my to be read, I'll check this out. But I mean, Frankenstein's a classic, but not a lot of people really talk about The Last Man. So, oh well. Next up, I actually did a cool new stuff video of Clive Barker books, but my wife did get me The Hellbound Heart, and I don't remember finishing this, but I remember my wife, yeah, she bought this for me, and then there was I think there was over the course of 2 days, we had no power in our house, so I read a good chunk of this really quickly. I can say that, when you have the movie Hellraiser and, directed by Clive Barker, and then you have The Hellbound Heart written by Clive Barker, it's pretty dang close, in comparison. I mean, it basically, the movie Hellraiser, it really is just this book just put on screen. And it's great. And I enjoyed this, and, I love the movie Hellraiser. To me, there's no real sequels to that movie, in my opinion. There's nothing worth really watching. Maybe, what was it? Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, if anything. But that's if you're in a weird mood. And it's been quite a while since I've seen Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 3 is just if you want some 80s cheese with Pinhead that happens to be in it, then watch that. But yeah, I mean, that's a great book that is, portrayed pretty well on film. So it's pretty dang close. If you watch the movie, you pretty much will read the book and be like, wow, that's very, very close. So this isn't really new, but I did read this actually recently for the first time ever. And I'm going to get into some Tolkien books because I've kind of developed a big interest in Tolkien recently, and have just kind of watched YouTube videos about him and his life and such. And he's a fascinating guy to me. And so I actually read The Hobbit for the first time ever, and I really liked it actually. I can see why people refer to this as such a classic book. I love the lighthearted nature of this book. And it's funny because I own the Hobbit movies as well. And the Hobbit movies are just really was trying to be another Lord of the Rings. But the book, The Hobbit, is nowhere near that. It is meant for children. And it kind of plays out almost episodically. There's just these tiny little adventures. Each chapter is kind of a little adventure within this, big adventure to go get some gold back from Smaug. And yeah, I love the character of Bilbo Baggins. I mean, I see a lot of myself in Bilbo. Basically, if you're an introvert, you can see yourself in Bilbo Baggins. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. I don't really reread books, but this is one I'd actually consider rereading. The thing about this that was a little tough for me was the prose. It was very different. It was a lot of Old English. So there was some stuff that kind of went over my head, and I was like, I don't know what that word is, So I was kind of like looking up certain words at some points, but I do like old English stuff. Like, I'm a huge fan of the movie The Witch, and a lot of people, like, when they first saw The Witch, were just like, I can't understand what they're saying. And luckily, when I like saw The Witch, I watched it with subtitles on. So if I had went to the theater to see The Witch, I probably would have been like, I have no idea what they're saying. But yeah, I enjoyed The Hobbit a good bit. I bought this used, and it's funny. So I was in the middle of reading it, and I got to like page 50 or something, and then all of a sudden, oh, a big chunk of the book fell out. And so I kind of have to keep the book's pages kind of together as best as I can. But yeah, it was funny that I was just like reading, and all of a sudden, like a huge chunk of pages just like fell out of it as I was reading it. And I was like, whoops. But I guess that's what happens when you buy a used book. So, I don't mind it though. I like, used books and the look of old books. So that I don't mind. Next, another Tolkien classic. I've actually had this for quite a while, but I just have not tackled it yet. I feel like that time's coming soon. I'm not sure of what I want to like tackle first. I feel like I want to tackle some short stories first, because I did The Hobbit. I kind of want to tackle something else that isn't like fantasy, and I'm not really the biggest fantasy fan. I've developed a love for Tolkien recently, so that's kind of why. But yeah, Lord of the Rings. And this is all 3 books in one. And this is, I think, the way that Tolkien wanted to release it, but his publishers were like, you can't do that. You got to release, them in 3 parts. But yeah, it's a big old chunky book. It's like the Bible, basically. But yeah, I'm excited to tackle it. I'm just hearing stuff about the difference between the Lord of the Rings book and the 3 movies that were made, and I'm a ginormous fan of the Peter Jackson movies, and just hearing the difference about it, it's fascinating to me. And a lot of people probably would prefer the movies because there's more action. People are like, the book is just a lot more dialogue, a lot more just adventuring, but less action. I don't know, for me, that sounds up my alley. I mean, I'm not a huge action movie guy really anymore. Growing up, I was super crazy into action movies, and now I'm like, tone down just the action, the explosions, and the loud violence and stuff like that. It's funny, being a huge horror fan, it's just like, yeah, I'll listen to someone get just like stabbed like 15 times, but just like, I don't want to see someone like jumping from building to building with them exploding. I don't get myself either, but that's just me. And yeah, next up is one that everyone's just like, good luck tackling this one, the Silmarillion. There's a lot of Tolkien fans that are like, this is Tolkien's best work, despite it being unfinished. Yeah, a lot of people are like, you'll read this Silmarillion, and throughout the whole thing, you're going to be like, what am I reading? And then you'll finish it, and you'll be like, what did I just read? But I'm down. I'll give me a decent challenge, at least an enjoyable challenge. And, Silmarillion sounds like it would be one. That's an enjoyable challenge. But yeah, I did purchase that fairly recently, and my birthday's in February, so I got like a $50 gift card from my older brother. And so at the time I was just like, I'm going to buy a bunch of Tolkien novels because they, weren't super expensive. So that's kind of what I'm going to be showing off now, or ones I just recently bought. So Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. I have not looked up a lot of stuff on Unfinished Tales, but there is a lot of there's like legit novelizations of certain works that are like kind of summarized versions in this one. Either way, I'm gonna check it out, whether I like it or not. But yeah, to me, it's like, if you have like summarized versions of stuff and I happen to really like the story, I'm probably gonna want to read the actual novelizations of certain stories. And I'll get to those. I know there's like summarized versions of those stories in Unfinished Tales, but Next up is Tales from the Perilous Realm. This is basically Tolkien's short story collection. I read a good bit of Roverandom, but I had to start it over because I read like half of it and then just put it down, never picked it up, and then like a month went by, and I'm just kind of like, I should restart that. But it has a couple of, really good stories in it. They have, I was going to buy just the novel itself, but I saw that it was a part of the short story collection, but that was The Adventures of Tom Bombadil. And so I was like, well, I could get that for like $20, or I could get that story and then like four others in Tales from the Perilous Realm for like the same price. So let me just buy the short story collection. But yeah, it's got Roverandom, Farmer Giles of Ham, Adventures of Tom Bombadil, Smith of Wootton Major, and Leaf by Niggle. And I've actually listened to Leaf by Niggle on audiobook, and I really enjoy that story. It's a pretty great story to listen to if you're like a creative person. It pretty much was like Tolkien almost like writing a therapeutic story for himself, but it's about a painter named Niggle, and he has like this big grand painting that he wants to finish, but keeps getting interrupted. He has to get like sent away, and he just worries that he's never going to be able to finish this painting. And that was kind of Tolkien with his, I guess what's called his legendarium of all his like history of Middle Earth that he came up with and everything. He was afraid he was never going to finish it. And of course he never really did, but he pretty much wrote Leaf by Niggle as like a form of therapy for himself, of being like, hey, if you don't finish, it's all good. Like, things are going to be okay, And so to those who are like creative or artists, or, you're a musician, you like to write or whatever, it's like, just know it's like, if you don't finish, you don't finish. It's like a lot of artists' work is never truly finished, despite how much you work on something. And even when you put something out, it's like, how many people go back and are like their own worst critic, and they're like, oh, I should have changed that or whatever. And I'm exactly that way. So it's a lot I can relate to. Children of Húrin, and I really don't know much about this. This is one that I haven't really looked into on what it's really about. A lot of people say it's just really good though. But this is, I think, one of the stories that's kind of summarized in Unfinished Tales. So, yeah, have that to look forward to. Beren and Luthien, I bought this because this is basically Tolkien's version of like Romeo and Juliet. But people say this is a really great love story. And so I'm a sucker for love and that type of thing. Like, love stories, I'm a huge sucker for. I think most people who are like fairly happy in a relationship, tend to kind of gravitate towards, love stories and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I am. So looking forward to that. And then last book I will get to is The Fall of Gondolin. A lot of people say this is also really great story. And yeah, we have Christopher Tolkien to thank for a lot of these, because Tolkien only actually published like 3 books, like while he was still alive, basically. And so Christopher like put all this stuff together and basically published all these works of his father's. And yeah, maybe Tolkien was just a perfectionist. He was just really focused on Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And, but yeah, that is all the books I have. I have a lot to do. I have a lot to read, and I'm not really sure where to start. If you have a suggestion, I'd love to hear in the comments of what you think I should read first. But I did read The Hobbit. Maybe I might just do My Best Friend's Exorcism next. Get that out of the way. I might read something else short after that, and then, how ambitious I'm feeling, maybe I'll tackle Lord of the Rings. But yeah, at the order I was basically showing these, like, I'm not going to read like Silmarillion before Lord of the Rings. That's kind of a weird, jump from The Hobbit to Silmarillion is kind of just night and day. So most people are like, start with Hobbit, go to Lord of the Rings, and then, go in publication order, after that. So, but yeah, those are cool new books of mine, I guess. But yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. Normally, I'm kind of the spooky guy, and so a lot of these I kind of just talked about mostly Tolkien books, but a couple spooky ones in there. But yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Hope you're having a good day out there. I'll see you in a future video. Bye.